Thank you so much, and thank you, Ruby. In the beginning, I was careful to keep my teaching and my performing in very separate spheres. I didn't think most parents would want me teaching their children after a reviewer in the Village Voice advised, and I quote, "You wouldn't want Paula Hunter babysitting your children after seeing her solo dances." Teaching ballet was my day job. Much better than waitressing, to be sure, but my real passion was for creating quirky, bizarre dance and performance art pieces. And I hid this work from my young students, assuming they'd flee a dance teacher who costumed herself in a man's black suit and performed a robotic dance while she talked about her father pouring salt on his head to cure his baldness. They might not take to a teacher who unexpectedly dumped a bucket of water over her head while stiffly waltzing to Chopin. And certainly they'd shun a teacher who searched for a contact lens while describing the family trait of agoraphobia. The piece about accompanying my dad to the car wash in Lansing, where he met his bookie, was decidedly too strange. But finally, as my students became teens, the word got out that I was at least as weird as they already thought. And rather than desert me, they asked to collaborate. They loved the honesty of the work, and before I knew it, they were rehearsing with me for my first Paula Hunter Home Alone series in a work about my fear of drinking hot liquids in public. It didn't stop there. Soon they wanted to make their own dances, and I hesitated. Wouldn't the craft of choreography be too arduous and intense, too full of editing? I couldn't imagine they'd be willing to investigate their own movement impulses and endure the relentless editing necessary to create a well-made dance. They're too young to be critical of something so personal, their own movements. But here again, they were up to the challenge and then some. They wanted to get it right. Craft as a liberating force became their mantra. For once, I wasn't alone in the studio. It didn't happen overnight. Of course, the technique training continued to take precedence, teaching them to articulate their bodies in every which way. But now we began to help each other as artists. They critiqued my dances and performance pieces, and I mentored theirs. One night, dancer Jess Kuhn performed a tap dance while she discoursed on crossing a street, waiting in a long grocery line, and fielding the salutations of other teens, weaving together rhythmic movement and words in unexpected ways. Judy Esty astounded with her subversive take on doll culture in a piece called Barbie, and her next work, Call Me, to a Deborah Harry piece of that name, sends up texting in a postmodern piece with allusions to Swan Lake. I wanted to get the word out. Not only did I increasingly want to feature them in my work, my Home Alone shows and my works in New York, but I wanted them performing this burgeoning repertory of dances we were making together. I wanted to show everyone their amazing work, and I wanted them to be part of the cultural landscape here in Rhode Island. They would be the heart and soul of a new enterprise called Jump. Anyone willing to seriously study classical technique and learn the art of dance composition in weekly rehearsals was welcome. Without funding, we made dances for the stages we found in Providence. The streets and the urban landscape welcomed us. And by the way, aren't teens supposed to be self-conscious and under pressure to conform? Well, here's a sampling of what jump dancers have done in Rhode Island. Performed on a bridge above 95. Performed on Thayers Street using oboe pan as a green room. Performed our holiday classic, Polar Express, in Nordstrom's during a busy shopping day, replete with snowflakes descending on an escalator. Performed on South Main Street using parking meters as partners. And of course, performed on point in the Whole Foods parking lot, using empty grocery carts as props. Now we're all so mixed up, I couldn't tell you where Jump ends and Paula Hunter begins. Last summer, we crawled in an alleyway in Manhattan with computers balanced on our backs. And recently, they performed in a collaborative work based on my descent into necrotic mania after being bit by a brown recluse spider. In the fall of 2013, we were invited to perform in New York for the Art in Odd Places Festival, and before that, we performed as part of the Now Dance Festival in a drained swimming pool in Washington Heights. But certainly Ruby, Katie Norton-Bliss, and I performing my food piece in a storefront on 42nd Street, covering ourselves in junk food as we danced to gape-mouthed crowds, was in many ways the proof that it doesn't matter how old or young you are when you're under the trance of art making. Our mission continues to expand. Jump dancers serve on our board, learning about arts administration, and we send dancers into libraries and schools to teach the art of choreography. I want to help produce the next generation of supporters, creators, and appreciators of dance and performance art. I hope to see Jump as a permanent part of the cultural landscape in Rhode Island, and I believe we're on the way. But most of all, I hope that I've convinced audiences that it doesn't matter when in your life you choreograph or perform. Age doesn't matter. What matters is the artist's intention, and these young choreographers intend to show you great dance making. My service to the arts has also been my reward, working collaboratively with these young artists.
Thank you very much to Mary Paula Hunter, and thank you to Ruby, who is so poised and so wonderful.